Each week, I ask on social media what people would like to see us debate on this show. And every week, multiple people ask me to debate what they describe as mainstream media bias. Their reason for this, rightly or wrongly, is that they perceive there to be a strong anti-Brexit bias across broadcast media. When they look at political panels, they see Brexiteers heavily outnumbered by Remainers, and they've had enough. In response, we've seen the Brexit Party launch their own YouTube channel and even their own newspaper. Whilst I understand this, I do fear we are at the start of a slippery slope because it will lead to a deepening of echo chambers. Our media needs to stop seeing Brexit supporters as an afterthought and heavily outnumbering them on debate shows. I speak from experience, by the way, when I say that I've been on multiple shows as the only Brexiteer many times. We need people to trust our media and for that media to accurately represent all views. It's no secret that trust is fading, and it worries me where that will end.
I don't know where to start. I mean, for a start, just on papers to begin with. The Telegraph, the Mail, the Mail on Sunday, the Express, the Sunday Times. No.
She meant mainstream media.
Yeah, she said broadcast.
Yeah, I'm starting with
media is everything.
And their owners, Rupert Murdoch, the Barclay brothers, huge Brexiteers, as you call them. Next up, the broadcasters have to make every effort to get people who plead the Brexit case on their shows as much as possible. Now, with respect, it is hard to find people who can actually argue for Brexit because it is such an idiotic proposition.
And that, you've summed it up.
Wait.
Just end the debate there. That's exactly summed up your point.
Because all they actually say is, it's the will of the people, we won, you lost, get over it, that we had this vote 3 years ago. You simply say the same things over and over again without actually drilling into the economic chaos of what there is. No. And just let me finish. Sure. And it is very easy to find people who actually know something about the EU, who know about international trade, like Pascal Lamy, like John Major, like Tony Blair. It's not rude at all. It's not rude.
My people
there are reams of people who can come on and speak intelligently about the issues, whereas everyone else just has slogans. It's like the Brexit Party. That was literally a party with one-word slogan. They didn't have any policies. This is why it's hard to find people to come on and talk about Brexit. Go on then, Nick.
Well, I'm infuriated by you two, but I'm going to let Nick come in.
I don't really know, because you use words like it is so rude.
All right,
I hear what you
idiotic
say.
Maybe was strong. All right, I
hear what you say about newspapers, and we could have a long and probably take the rest of the show. I sense there is normally a bias within the BBC towards Remain. I really believe.
Hasn't
I
been
really
found by
believe
Ofcom,
that.
yes.
Hasn't been proven.
No. You just shout it down when you don't hear what you want to hear. Please let me just get out the point. And in a way, the reaction of both you, and credit to Greg, he's just bided his time. And I have to say, you, who I really, really do love you, but your reaction, I actually don't need to say anything. I just urge the viewers to recall how you both reacted to the point that I actually agree.
On that, I tend to agree with you, Nick. I don't think the response is that. I think what happens is when you've got a major issue, polarised sides, both sides think the media is against them. Always.
Yeah.
It happens the whole time. Both sides think the media are against them. Now, you started off by saying people are trusting journalists less. Well, that's not true. There's an Ipsos Mori poll that shows that it's gone from 10% in 1993, but I think that's an aberration. But 15% trusted them in the 90s. It's up to 27% now. There is actually a greater trust.
Do you think that's good? That only a quarter of people, pretty much.
Well, hang on, you can't.
It's gone up.
It's going the right way.
It's going the right way.
Do you think that's good? That only a quarter of people?
Well, it depends what. I think it's too general a question to ask. Say, do I trust journalists? If you want my honest opinion, because what you need to do is which journalists, which organisation, which. But there is. When I was at the BBC, when I was running the BBC, we did a lot of work on trying to be impartial, and what you discover is that people who feel passionate about something, it's almost impossible to satisfy them that you are impartial on both sides, and that's what's happened on Brexit.
Michelle, can I say something?
Let me just ask.
Well, I can tell you. I remember at the time of the Iraq War getting a lot of flack from Alistair Campbell and Tony Blair for the BBC saying, you're not putting enough people on who support our position. Well, I tell you what, we went for massive attempts to try and find people who supported their position.
I just want to know, where is your data for this? I mean, is this just your experience when you go on? Because I know I've been on many shows where I'm one of the few Remainers, and even on this debate show, often there will be you, Carol, and Nick, and then there'll be just two of us. It just happens today there are more Remainers than Brexiteers, but that's not always the case.
But we're all Democrats.
But we're all Democrats, and we love our great country. So I don't know where you're getting this data from. It doesn't seem like it's empirical data. It looks like it's just your experience. And then the other bit, what I would say is, having lived in America, where actually broadcast media is very partisan and very opinionated, I think in comparison to the US, I would say that our television media is quite impartial, actually.
Well,
and most of the networks go out of their way to represent both views.
Well, we have a legal
America.
obligation. Broadcasters in this country have
Precisely.
a legal obligation to try to be
because of the
unbiased.
That allows me
balanced.
just to, and you know, people talk about mainstream media. Stations like Sky News, LBC,
Yeah.
the BBC. I'm just going to leave. This is the code that they have to observe for all their reporting and their discussion shows, and it goes on and on and on. But I would, June, I would, and it's difficult for Michelle to necessarily quote, well, there was this show on the 17th of April and there was this show on the 20th of September. You're a fair-minded woman. You must detect sometimes a tone, that any Brexit supporter commentators are painted as being almost Neanderthal in their view.
Well,
you must sometimes.
It's just happened on this programme.
What I would say is, and I have to find a sort of diplomatic way of saying this, is that, OK, let's just look at the demonstrations. Let's just take the demonstrations as an example. If you look at the demonstrations from the Remain side, and I believe we have to listen to the Brexiteers. I'm not one of these Remainers that's completely against Brexiteers, not at all. But if you look at the way the Remainers demonstrate, or if you look at the way Remainers put their argument across, often, not with you two, but often if you look at the voices of Brexit, they are very combative. They are very
on both sides,
belligerent, and I do think that there is a difference in the two.
Well, I am very pleased that I've chosen to debate this topic, because I do believe that literally the reactions of you two, I do believe that has summed up a lot of the reactions across the media. And you talked about...
But they're on one side.
But you talked about a moment ago that basically you think that you can't get any Brexiteer to come on programmes that have got any sense about them. One of the challenges is a lot of people are even afraid to admit that they voted Brexit.
That's not true.
Oh, it is
I'd
true.
say you guys are much more vocal.
I know many people that are professional business people that would never sit on a professional platform and say that they voted Brexit. And the reason being is exactly the attitude that you two have just displayed.
Well, what a shame.
You're calling them names, you're laughing. It's just, I think it's outrageous.
What I said was, in sum, it's hard to find people who come on and make a strong economic case for Brexit in the face of all the evidence that shows we are going to go off a cliff if we have a no deal.
That's not what you said. But
well, it was basically what I said. It's very hard because it's an emotional argument versus a factual argument. You've got to find the people who are coming on to say we want our country back, which is Trumpian kind of politics.
OK, it's time to move on. Coming up, why this may soon be a thing of the past.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.